Welcome to PAO Fans International. We've got the Champions League edition. Welcome, Panathafan. Welcome, Nick. It's been a few weeks.
Good to be
Evening,
back.
gents. Yeah, it's good to be back indeed. Really
New
looking forward to having
season,
this chat.
I thought
the
Nick,
new season, optimism, signings, transfer rumors, a lot's still going on. It feels like there's no preseason these days. It's a constant news cycle.
I thought you would have picked up a bit of a Scottish accent with the couple of podcasts that you've done with them.
Luckily, I was worried they were going to be hard to understand. They're actually pretty easy to understand.
Let's kick straight into it. Now, let's kick off with the preseason. Now, I'm not going to go too much into the results. Results aren't what the preseason is about. It's about the observations and what we saw. A lot of good in the preseason. A lot of concerns as well. But I think I feel the good outweighs the concerns in what I saw. How did you guys see the five odd preseason games that we played?
Far away, Nick.
Mixed bag. In short, there was, as always, there was good and bad and everything in between. In terms of the good, early doors, especially the young academy players that were taken to the camp in Austria, got some game time, and especially a couple of them contributed with goals. Bokos in one of the earlier friendlies. Then, as time progressed, Bregu was the clear standout. He made his debut last season in the last match day of the Conference League. So it's not like he's a total stranger. So we had a feeling he'd be more advanced than the others that were taken on the camp, and he showed that. And there's rumours that we're going to get onto about our number eights that might be potentially for sale, and you've got a ready-made replacement in him. I'd love to see Bregel given a chance, a serious chance in the squad from the beginning. Not saying to start him against Rangers, but as a substitute, and then in the league, potentially a starter in those games as we move forward with the season. Kyriakopoulos, we all called it nice addition at left back. Lack of goals, not sure if that's something to be worried about, but that stood out for better or for worse. High press being implemented. So this is Rui's first full preseason. We're going to judge him more strictly this season, Victoria. I laid off him last season. There's only so much he could do coming in to rescue a bad situation at the last hour. Whereas this season, he's been in from the beginning, from last season. He knows what the issues were. He's been able to recruit players as well. So he's going to be judged more strictly. And the press is an evolution, I guess, because that's something we didn't see last season. So that's something he's worked on. Hopefully, it's going to yield the positive results for us. The playing out from the back as well, question mark, because that was a bit of a mixed bag. Dragovski clearly hasn't recovered from his bad run from the back end of last season, hence the Lafont signing. I know, Sturge, you've got your doubts if he can play out from the back, but by all accounts, he's a good shot stopper, big, tall body. So hopefully it just, he exudes that confidence to the back line. Dubar, he played a fair few minutes as well in these friendlies. Interesting. I wouldn't say I'm fully sold on him, but he wasn't the disaster that we all feared he would be. Other than that, yeah, nothing else.
From my perspective, and I think Nicky made some good observations about select key players, and Bregel for me is 100% the highlight in terms of all the players that really featured. Um, but players aside, for me, the key observation was seeing what the work that Rui was doing with his squad and the style of play. And I agree that we're going to judge him more harshly this season. And I think this is the first real sign of what changes is going to implement to the squad. And for me, the two key observations were that defensively will look tighter, where you didn't concede goals easily. If I think about it, most games were quite tight defensively. We conceded 2 goals against Braga, but they were really keeper errors in the main. So from our point of view, I think he made it clear at the end of last season that defence is his priority, and we're starting to see that in the friendlies so far. So good early signs in that sense. He did experiment with different mix of players, and I like that. So he's clearly seeing and trying what works. And I think we got a good taste of some of the formations and with different players in midfield and defence. And for me, outside of the defensive pairings, which you briefly touched on, Nick, the midfield pairings or combos was the key highlight and really getting a good insight there. And Juvella as the DM, I think we're already seeing that he's got what it takes, early signs, and I got no question that he should be a starter against Rangers at least.
No, he
And then it's a question about Cherry, Maximovic, even Bakaseta. What's that combo going to look like? And you can see that rather than just going for stock standard formation, Victoria was trying different things and experimenting, and even Sioppi playing next to Giovella at one point. So that's the sort of thing that I wanted to see, and that's the sort of thing that shows me that the coach has got a clear eye for what he thinks should happen and what the formations are. So early signs were good. Let's see now what starting 11 and formation he puts against Rangers, because I dare say he got a good taste of different formations through those preseason friendlies.
Yeah, yeah. There's a lot of points. Definitely agree with that. First of all, Brego. I think I mentioned him in every single preseason post in my observations. He was a standout. He worked as we've been talking about the need for the ball playing eights. I think he's making a good case for him. If it won't happen straight away, but it feels like it's eventually going to come where we're going to see some minutes for with him in that eight spot. So he was a standout. I loved what I saw from Kyriakopoulos as well. Very solid defensively. He gave us what Mladenovic lacked as a left back. Very tight defensively, did the job, was still pushing up. He had the synergy with Jurisic. They've played together at Sassuolo, so they do know each other and have that understanding as well, which is good. We did see Tuba, where I think everyone was just expecting train wreck. Everyone was expecting him to be outpaced. He actually played decent. There was no real errors that he did. He was adjudged to have given away the penalty against the Danish team Nordsjælland, but it was never a penalty. When he went in for the slide tackle, he got the ball, and the officiating gave it a penalty, which was a ridiculous call, but it is a friendly. But I thought he was pretty good. We saw the best of what he can do, which we hadn't really seen a lot, where he was able to move the ball as a defender using both feet. So he didn't really seem too phased when players were coming up to him to put the press on him. He was able to, give direct and good passes using both feet. Another standout, we must say, and I think his performances in the preseason in all four games have, or five games, have really, pretty much made him as the primary defender was Eric Palmer Brown. Someone that went missing 2 years ago, injuries, couldn't, that mystery injury, all of a sudden just made himself or has announced himself as like the primary defender. It was fantastic. We saw Chirivella. I don't think we announced him in the last time that we talked. I can't remember, but
no, no.
um, he's definitely the starting six. He's like the young Ruben that we needed. He looks to go forward, those first touches, those first time passes, things like that. That real positive play that we probably kind of lacked last year. We did have at our more of that solid build defensive mid, but now what we've got in that place is more of a better ball player, definitely better ball player. We, lose a bit of size, but he does go in. I think we're going to see him get a fair few yellow cards the way he does going tough as well. Um, what really impressed me as well was the high press, the press that Rui's team have bought into, and it actually worked. It wasn't like the press that Alonso promised us last year. It was Rui's version, and the team really bought into it, and it worked. We saw the teams constantly turning over when implemented successfully. There was times that, Nordirland were able to break through, but the primary focus of the high press was to put more pressure on their goalkeeper. And then from after the release of the goalkeeper, transition into a defensive, like the jargon I'm going to use is the low block, that mid block as well, and just set up defensively. Just put pressure on the keeper, try and get the turnover from there. Other teams did that to us in terms of in that Braga game where Lodigan and Dragowski just cheaply gave away the balls, but yeah, it wasn't a good showing for our goalkeepers, and that's where my main concern is the lack of showing. And it looks like Lodigan is on his way out. There's potentially that talk regarding Saudi Arabia and the Dhoni's club, but we'll get to that later. Um, the chances were a bit not quite often, especially against your Schalkes. That was atrocious. That game, we had Siopis and Maxi, I believe, in the middle, and there was just we just couldn't dictate the game. We couldn't take control of the game, passing anything. They were both afraid to get the ball, settle the game, and distribute. That was a bit of a concern. So it's going to show how much we're going to rely on Chirivella being on the field and probably the need for a ball playing eight, which we need. Um, and you know what? The 40 cameo versus Braga was impressive. He came on, he scored a nice goal, and then he did that, that little bit of a nice turn on their defender as well to break away on the left edge as well. Those are encouraging signs from 40. And, I've been a staunch defender of 40, and I said this is going to be his most important season with us if we do continue to keep him because he's had that off season, he's had the break, and he's come into, the off season without really carrying any injuries or any excuses. So for him, I think he's had a clean off season break as well as a off season to warm up, train, and prepare for the season. And, he's going to be our starting man going forward as well. So, yeah, the friendlies we saw, as they are friendlies, but we did see a lot of combination changes, a lot of different pairings, and I was happy. I was happy. It was considered though to be our toughest preseason in terms of the high, hard training that Rui implemented. There was some games that you see the players looked very fatigued, carrying heavier legs. Like you saw that in Vaianidis, I believe even in Tete, you saw that they just were a little bit off the pace. Not because they were unfit, it's just they were fatigued with the preseason. So having these this week off or lighter training coming up to Rangers does them a world of good.
That's one thing I was going to ask you guys. Your thoughts on this? Well, you could call it revamped preseason in the fact that in years gone by, not only have we haven't had our full squad, the coaches have tended to take it a bit easier and sort of ease the players into it and progressively up the ante as the season wears on. Whereas Victoria, by all accounts, this season has gone full steam ahead right from the get go. They've been saying by all accounts like intense training sessions, 2 sessions a day, 2 hours each one with high intensity. I'm worried that that's going to burn the players out, but you would imagine it would have us chomping at the bit, ready to go for this Rangers game.
Yeah, they were talking about intense training sessions and the longest sessions that they've done, but this is what Rui has implemented. He's in the off-season made changes in the club in terms of the medical staff as
Mm.
well. Got a big overhaul,
Yeah.
and we've seen our players get injured quite frequently. I believe, you know, something needed to change, whether it was the medical department, whether it was the off season, how the players trained. things needed to change. Yeah, I'm not against what I hope is going to work. Yeah, we've tried the light work and we seem to be getting very injured, especially in key moments from, that December, January period.
I think there was a comment made by someone in the club, I can't remember who now, that historically, where we've had early European qualifiers, they've gone easy in the preseason to cater for that without understanding the impact on the season as a whole. So traditionally, a lot, from a fitness point of view, the harder the preseason you had, then the more likely you're going to see out the season better. So if we went softer in the preseason just to cater for European ties early, it explains why we suffered how we did. So I'm all for it, despite the impact it may have on tiredness in the first proper game we have. And
Yeah,
I dare say Rangers would be in the same boat too.
yeah, definitely, definitely. And we've seen, we just talked a little bit on, Chirivella. So that was the number six that we brought in, Chirivella. He was the nonce captain, ball playing number six. He's like Ruben Perez, only younger. We got to see him in the preseason straight away, and I saw really good things, really good touches. Without doing, he's not going to be there scoring goals, whatever. His passage of play is going to come deep from the half. We didn't see Ruben score two. We only saw him score once, really, in his whole tenure, but it was loved because of the way he plays in the passing, and we're getting a younger version of that, where we're going to see a ball player that promotes going forward, looking for players, looking for that space, being direct, the good one-touch passing. So, I think he's going to be a really good addition. And we touched on Kyriakopoulos as well. We saw a lot of good from him. He offers something different from Mladenovic, where, as I said before, better defender, but while Mladenovic can cross a ball, he's known for that, the crossing, the set pieces. I see Kyriakopoulos, his style of play looks to be the ball on the floor, the cutbacks. I think, yeah, that needs to get worked on a little bit more with the team, just reading that play because they looked sometimes a bit lost when he was coming in, cutting back, and no one there, or the pass just not reaching its target. But that will come a bit better as the season goes on. Now the one that really was the one that had me confused was Lafont. What did you guys think of that when first it was rumored and then we actually signed him?
I'm going to reserve, obviously, with any new signing, reserve judgment until he plays. Look, the fact that I mentioned before, he's a big body, so you'd imagine he can cover his goal well, protect it well, and for me, first and foremost, I want my goalkeeper to be a good shot stopper, and that should give the back line confidence. Dora, if he can, play out from the back, comfortable with the ball at his feet, that's an added bonus. But for me, he's got to be a good shot stopper first and foremost. I know Victoria's got other ideas. That's just me.
I think I sort of said this in our group chat, and I'll repeat it here for a wider audience. In that, when the rumor first came up, and I did a quick search of him as a player, I was concerned about him as a signing, and I still am concerned. There's no question about his pedigree and ability from years gone by. At his best, is world class, and I think he was made it to the bench of the French national team at one point, if I'm not mistaken. But if you look at the last season, he lost a hell of a lot of confidence, and he was reported he was making a lot of errors. And one thing you need from a keeper is a keeper that has the confidence and has the comfort on the ball, whether it's by hand or foot, to protect the goal. So the fact that he dropped out of the seniors at Nantes because of those concerns or that drop of form, for me, is a worry. And I really sort of question what is it that's going to make him rise to the top again, playing for our club on a season loan with no buyout clause. So that's the part where I'm probably less optimistic than the usual fan.
If we're talking about signing him, because I believe his contract ends anyway over in France after this. If we're talking about getting him at the end of this loan spell, it means he's had a good loan spell. So we'd be in a great position if we are talking like that. Fast forward 12 months. I thought though he got demoted due to a falling out with club management. Not to bad form.
Nah,
Yeah,
I think I think it was poor form.
Okay.
there may have been a disagreement. I'm not saying there wasn't, but there certainly was a patch of poor form. And I think he himself would have, or may have acknowledged, or I think there was a report somewhere acknowledged that he wanted an opportunity to play even in a lower league to get that form back.
Yeah, look, I found it weird because the whole time in the preseason was we're looking for a goalkeeper with ball playing attributes. That was going to be the thing. Many names are being thrown out, and then you'll hear me say it pod after pod, especially during the transfer window. Don't listen to like the insiders. Don't listen to a lot of the reports. Many of the Greek reporting has been very inaccurate, and I'll get more into that soon. We've heard more about the signings coming from the international media for us. Lafont, he does come as someone that has been good. I think we're going to see him be a very similar mold to Dragowski, where both excellent shot stoppers, both on their day can be amazing assets, but they're also both keepers that can have their downs and not really recover from it. So I'm a bit reserved on it, only because the fact that he's not that goalkeeper that the attributes that we're looking for. He's known more for his shot stopping abilities as opposed to his ball playing, but yeah, how does he fit in with Dragowski there as well? Both really are that neck and neck in terms of same sort of style keeping. So it's just going to be interesting. Will they push each other? Is it going to disappoint Dragowski? We know Lodigan will be on his way out now with that. We did sign a Greek keeper. Was it
God studies.
Gortadis? That's it. We've got him mainly just for the Greek list in terms of the cup. But yeah, it's gonna be really interesting to see how that plays out. And for those that played FIFA 24, he was probably the most common player you'd unpack in the FIFA 24 Team of the Year pack, Lafont. So he was the French keeper one in FIFA 24, the as a keeper in the Team of the Year. So, and he was very annoying because he was always one of the keepers that you'd get unpacked the most. So. He's got the good pedigree. But also, as a side note, Brignoli was there as well as team of the year as well for us. Part of the rest of the world, but he was there as well. But yeah, interesting one. How Lafont's gonna fit. That were the main signings. I think we made the right signings to plug in the biggest issues at the moment, and obviously Tuba. Tuba was the signing as well that we made that. I think we talked a bit about him in the last time, but he's the signing that the defensive signing, bit of height, bit of ball playing. I think we had a lot of concerns, but he looked fine so far. So far, so I'm not going to write him off so far because he didn't give me a reason to. So there was that, and yeah, in terms of. I don't want to speak too much on potential signings because if you read any socials, any insiders, they're gonna tell you 120 different names, and when one lands, they're just gonna claim it in all glory. But there is one name that really isn't a it really isn't a name that's going away. It's our former player that was on loan, Ounahi, and what's happening with him. I think I'll try and speak factual about it, and remain impartial because my opinion would be that I think what Marseille wants is, a waste of money. So what we do know is Spartak Moscow has tabled an offer of 12 million euro that's still on the table. Marseille are pushing for him to go there because it's 12 million. They're not going to get that much money for a player like him. There are other teams that have come in with offers. We haven't made an official offer. We have made an inquiry. The offer that we were looking to make was that 7 up to 7.2 million euro. That's as high as we're going to go. I think even then it could be overpriced because if we're going to spend that much on him, that means our budget is gone, especially with those, cost control, those, the FIFA fair play stuff, all that stuff. We're going to be in a bit of trouble, especially if we don't progress against Rangers. I can't see the Ounahi deal getting done at all unless it's like another loan deal. There's now two other offers that have come around, and that for me is more indicative of where the market value of Ounahi is. There was first the Brighton offer that was at about the reported 4 to 5 million, which Marseille rejected, and as of recent was Girona for 3 million, and that's 50% of his rights, which Marseille also declined. Marseille is looking for at least 9 million for him. That's what they believe the market is for him, but a player that's gonna leave whoever he plays for a month to play in AFCON as well, I don't think that's good value, especially for a club like us. And if you're looking at the market where Brighton and Girona, who, falls under the City Football Group, see him more in the market anywhere between that, 4 to 6 million mark. I think that's more indicative of where his value actually is. What do you guys think about the whole Unahi thing? Because if you read socials, there's two extremes. There's those that are like, just fully committed, just do everything to get him. And then there's, you know, people maybe more realistically to say, hey, hold on, he might not actually be worth it. He's not a god. There are other players that you can get out there for better pricing.
It's a tough one. I said it at the moment last season ended that this is going to drag on right until the end of August, potentially even into September, because we got him last year in early September on loan. So I'm not even ruling that out. Look, I'll start by saying I'd love to get him permanently, obviously, but it comes with a caveat, and that caveat is the right price. And it's what you said. If Brighton, what was theirs, 5 million, and Girona was 3 million for 50% of his rights. So let's call it 6 million. And I thought we offered. You said we didn't. I thought we actually submitted a bidding for 7 million. We haven't.
No,
Okay.
there's no
Okay.
formal offer. I think it's just the two clubs speaking, but there's no actual formal offer on the table from us.
He's not going to go to Spartak Moscow. We know what he's like. He can be a bit of a strange character at times. And I said it back then to you guys. I can't picture him being the type to go relocate to Russia where it's cold, the war, whatever's going on there as well. European ban in Athens, in Greece. He's living it up. He knows he can live a good life there. He's not going to give that up to move to Russia. I thought Girona would have appealed to him as a player because it's what you said. They're linked to the City Group. They played in the Champions League, La Liga as well. Obviously, one of the big five leagues. Brighton, he knocked back because they couldn't guarantee him a starting first team place, which is something high up on his wish list. That's obviously something we would give him. Look, as time goes on, I've been saying for the last 2 weeks, we've got to start looking elsewhere and keep him in the background and revisit this come the second last week of August, let's say, if we can get him back on loan. And then I think it's his last year contract as well, isn't it? So then we can get him potentially even for free this time next year. But I'd be looking elsewhere definitely for now. And in terms of where I'd be looking, you can get players on the cheap that obviously they haven't got the flair, the skill, that flamboyant nature of Unahi that can win you a game with individual brilliance of his own, but they can fit in a system. Other Balkan countries, whether it's Serbia, Croatia, even the Belgian league, the Scandinavian countries, the South American leagues. I'd be looking there. You could get a handy Vekari that comes in for 2-3 million. That does a job.
I don't think the Brighton offer, I think it was a bit of mix. It was that also Marseille rejected because it was low value as well. That's why he
He,
didn't
he
push for
didn't
it.
he didn't want it either.
Yeah, I think he didn't push for it only because it was low value.
Yeah. Okay.
I
What
don't
about
have, yeah, I don't have too much to say other than, look, he's shown his class. He's shown he's a great player. Would I be happy to have him on the squad? Yes. Would I? Do I think he's worth 8, 9 million? No. The market tells us what he's worth, and the market has shown so far that the highest bid is 6. And I say 6 being the Hirona 3
3 million.
mil, 50%. So if you want to then discount that because it's 50% and bring it down to 5, that's his value. So going much more beyond that, which it looks like we're willing to do, okay, we're the ones that decide that. But ultimately, the market is telling us he's not worth anywhere near the numbers being asked for. I fear that Marseille is going to hold out to September like they did last year when they loaned him to us in September. So for me, I'm more interested in the club saying internally, don't have to make an announcement. We'll give it to the X date. If we don't get anywhere by that date, we move on. And really, they should be running the process from now, if they haven't already, or as to what the alternative players are. So if it gets that date and there's no progress, bang, they advance negotiations with those other players that they've got on their list. And that just takes all the emotion out of it. I'm not interested in getting over hyped up about him coming or not. It's just going to, I think, good chance it's going to disappoint you at the end of the day, and one player is not worth that disappointment.
and this is my biggest gripe with our club itself that they haven't done enough to shut down this rumor. Either commit to him or don't. Just, don't sit there waiting for him. Go for your other targets, more attainable targets. We shouldn't be just sitting there dragging on this one player that we don't know if we're going to get over the line with this deal. Realistically, if he gets done, it's going to probably please most of the fans that want him. But I think, yeah, personally, I think we need to move on to other targets or shut down this rumor. We can't let it drag on. You don't see any other club in the world drag on these rumors over one player for this long.
And that's Papa Zim, really. I mean, this is his area. This is his responsibility. It's not that hard. I mean, he did the interview with one of the Greek media outlets not long ago where he talked a lot and said nothing. Um, communication on transfer strategies and signings, that's in his court. And how hard is it for him to have a chat to one of these journalists from Sport FM, because they do tend to get leaks from time to time, to say we've given Ounahi till 1 August. Beyond that, plan B. It's not that hard.
For
SDNA he
me,
favors because they're the ones that haven't written a hit piece on him. So it's SDNA he favors.
And so be it. If it's SDNO, then it's SDNO. But what he's so scared of communicating any part of his strategy in case it fails and he's held accountable to it. We have this golden silence, and we all know that with meet there, what happened, and we know if meet there would have been a lot of embarrassment that came about because of that. So they've got this opposite now where the fans just sitting there wondering, and this podcast is a good example where we don't know what is going to happen. We're going to wait till 10th September, or we're going to wait till end of July.
I
Your
think
guess
another,
is
I
good as
think
mine.
another thing is why he may have not shut down the rumor is he doesn't want to be the bad guy, the unpopular guy by, the fans demanding to sign Ounahi. He doesn't want to be the bad guy to say, oh, no, we're not getting him because there'll be even more reaction against to him. So that's another thing
But
potentially.
he doesn't get paid on fan popularity. He gets paid to do his job.
He's got a job. What's his job?
And that's yeah. Well, that's the
Yeah.
whole podcast in itself, right? No, but yeah, his job is to fulfill a transfer strategy, and he, he knows full well. Or hang on, I think he knows full well what he needs to do, and I dare say Victoria should be telling him what his desires are, what the players that he wants. The key challenge here is Victoria telling him, mate, you've got till this date, or else find an alternative. That's to get the play out.
For me, as I said earlier, for me, the timeline, the way it's all going now with the games already coming up, I would have switched attention. I would have started looking elsewhere around 2 weeks ago and revisited this the back end of August. Yeah, we got to really move quick now. As for you hit the nail on the head with what you said, the reason as to why this is dragging on, and clearly it's Papa Dimitriou. I just put it down to him being incapable, incompetent to land a suitable replacement for Ounahi. Because at the moment, it's only Bakasetas, which is a real worry. Because Bakasetas now is 32 this year. What happens if he cops an injury in one of these games against Rangers? It's going to
Yep.
be Judicic moving into a position he hasn't, played his best for us, and then that's going to fall squarely on Papa Dimitriou, of course. And as I said, us normal fans, it's not even our job. We've suggested leagues you can go look at for players half the price of Ounahi that can come in and feed and do a job and that. And he's incompetent to even do that.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. We did, in terms of other players, there's been like a lot of chat. I think one probably more serious one was Milos Pantovic from the Serbian club, and potentially any exit between Seren or Maximovic, one of the two. There was a little bit of chatter, mainly from Greek media, that Trabzonspor was linked to Cheran, but that looked like it was all hot air. Trabzonspor have signed Saul, the former Chelsea Atletico Madrid player, so doesn't look like that's going anywhere, the Cheran stuff, but potentially Maximovic would be the one to look out for. Yeah, we did have obviously a bit of disappointing news in the preseason for Kyrgiopoulos, the young kid, make his return to the club that he loves. He did do his ACL, so he has been ruled out for the season while he rehabs himself. So, obviously, want him recovering and a speedy recovery, stronger, ready for us next season. Yeah, and I think with that, we've looked at the teams, the current team, the outlook, but let's have a look more of, the next big topic, obviously. It is the main event. It is the Champions League qualifier versus Rangers. Now, Nick, you had the luck of speaking with, I believe um two podcasts. I did one interview with the radio station a few weeks ago. There was another one I was meant to do a big podcast with, but just like their preseason, they were a bit unorganized, the Rangers guys. So don't think that one's going to go ahead. But you know, uh, it's interesting to see what our current lineup is going to look like. And I'd say we're even more intrigued by, and we'll discuss Rangers in terms of their potential lineup and their weird off season. Nick, I'll let you kick off because you did talk with the Scottish guys. Run it through it, and obviously what you see about the match. Just give us the whole spill on everything.
So I ended up doing three. The first one was weeks back when you did your radio one, but back then. Then I did two more recently. One of them is available on YouTube with Rangers Review. They got a huge following, a lot of subscribers on YouTube, huge following on X and Instagram and Facebook. Um, Look, and he echoed my sentiments in the fact that his words basically a real 50-50. Impossible to predict how it's going to pan out because the sample size, especially from a Rangers point of view, is so minimal. They've only had the Club Bruges friendly that ended 2-2. Then they had another friendly at Barnsley. Then the other friendlies they've only been behind closed doors. Dessers, he was saying won't play even as a sub at best, and even that's unlikely. Sutar will play. Asgard is a doubt. One of their new signings. Their other signing, winger, I forget Gassama, if that's how you pronounce it. He's not going to be ready to go for the first leg, maybe for the second leg. But out of the it's what we said at the time, out of the three potential opponents they could have faced, we were definitely the hardest. That's what he was saying. Uh, Again, I'm not sure if all Rangers fans believe it, but he was very happy that the match was being played at Oaka as opposed to Leoforos. So he was old enough to remember the last time we played him at Leoforos, and the atmosphere, the edge Leoforos can give us. Um, he was really willing to give Russell Martin a go, and obviously they've got new owners in as well. Look, and it's what I was saying. For me, Vittoria is more of a savvy tactician than Martin, where Martin only knows, again, this is only me judging him from his spell at Southampton last season. He only knows one way, and that's plan A, possession. And if that fails, just keep doing plan A better. That clearly didn't work in the Premier League last year. It may work at Rangers. Again, me personally, I'm doubtful. Whereas Victoria's shown he's willing to now evolve his style at Panathinaikos, and he's willing, if need be, to sit us back and play more defensive. I think that's going to play into our hands. He agreed that our preseason was more advanced than theirs. They've only just started to fulfill their needs and make signings the last couple of weeks, where we got ours. We've still got a long way to go. Like another number 10, potentially another number 8 to get in, a left winger. But our major needs were done, addressed much quicker than theirs. We've played higher quality opposition as well. My worry is they're not at their best. Like, it's good for us that we've got them now early doors as opposed to getting them in November, December when they're more advanced in their journey under Russell Martin. But they've still, in the last 3 years, they've played in a Europa League final and a Europa League quarter final. And that if we did that, we'd be delighted with a run like that. Despite how poor they've been domestically, they've been able to put these European runs together. That's a worry for me. That they've got that know-how, that big game experience that we have it as well, because we've had a famous wins over Marseille, Ajax, Fiorentina, Villarreal, Lens, and all that. But our issue's consistency. We're consistently inconsistent, whereas they've been able to put runs together and they can draw on that big game experience. I'll give them 50-50, but I'll give them the slight edge just down to that alone. If we're any hope of progressing, we've got to keep it tight in the first leg and lean on our more advanced and organised preparation. I'd be trying to draw hard on that.
In their European runs, though, did they get big scalps?
If they got it to a final, they must have. I know for last season, for instance, I think it was Fener they eliminated in the round of 16. They looked really good I think it was the away leg. It might have been, but I saw them play. I remember last season against Olympiacos, finished 1-1. They were really unlucky not to win that. They were the better side that night.
Yeah, no, I'm not being, I wasn't being a smartass. It was just me. Like, I don't know if they had any
Yeah,
real.
no, I don't either.
What about yourself, Panathafan?
Well, I was just actually, as you asked that question, looking it up. And the first thing that's come up as I've searched it is they knocked out Borussia Dortmund to reach the final.
Oh,
So I personally had no idea, and as I've brought it up now as we're talking, I'm looking at it going, yeah, okay, that's a pretty good scalp.
yeah.
Look, I don't have anything further to share. I mean, ultimately, we are somewhat blind to how they're going to line up against us. I mean, we can sort of piece together the starting 11 to a certain extent, but what to expect is a little bit of a mystery. If Russell Martin can pull off a great showing, then geez, he's done well in a matter of a month to get 7 signings on board, deal with players that are left, injuries, etc., new style of play, and to make them competitive. on a European stage in such a short period of time, that'll be a great achievement on his part. So let's see. I mean, one would suggest that, as Nick said, they've got the pedigree over us in recent years. That's a big advantage, but we've got the continuity of Victoria as a coach, so that's our advantage. How that plays out, I'm keen to see in 48 hours.
It's honest. It's what you said it the other day, Panathafan. It's that seizing the key. That it could come down to one moment. Someone's got to grab the game by the scruff of the neck and seize it, pounce on it. It's going to come down to something like that. Whether it's saving a goal at the back, defender or keeper, or someone finishing a chance at the other end.
Yep.
I'm gonna take a very optimistic approach to this. I think when I saw this tie, when we got it, I was very happy. I think we talked, I can't remember if we covered it last pod, but I was very happy when we got this tie. And as the news progresses on, the days, everything, what I've seen between both squads in the preseason, player signings, everything, I'm even more optimistic that we will get the crucial tie. There's a lot at stake. I'll go to that as a final piece. You look at the two preseasons. One had went to Austria, had a heavy camp, played against decent teams. Braga is a very good team, and Nordjylland is that really tough Danish team where they make sales on players here and there. They'll sell players for 10 million. Um, so they've got a little bit of a nice developing pedigree themselves. So we had some really good headouts, and we finished obviously off with a probably a weaker team in Westerlo, but still a mid-table Belgium team, and barely threatened either. They had their first game against Club Brugge, and they've only remained in Scotland, mind you. They came back and drew 2-2. Um, I know we shouldn't be talking about results or everything, but they played against like a League One side and drew against them as well behind closed doors.
Hungry, yeah.
Yeah. So that tells me they've only had three preseason games. That tells me that they're coming in very light, and it looks like they're very light on numbers as well. They're playing Suta, who was reported injured and reported like still carrying the injury because he never got that surgery they should have done in the off season. They're gonna heavily rely on him, but I don't think he's at full fitness. They've got other players that the new signing that they got as well, who's ruled out of the first game, definitely. Unsure about the second game. Um, the keeper situation is a bit of a question mark for them. It looks like they're going to start their keeper Kelly instead of last
Oh,
season, instead of last season's keeper
Butland.
Butland. Yeah.
You don't think it'll be Butland?
Or according to what various reports have one pointing at Butland and the other one pointing at Kelly because they
Okay.
were very disappointed with how Butland finished the season. Kelly is looking to have got the lead. Now we've got to obviously be careful of their right back and Captain Tavernier.
Mm.
He's an attacking threat. Um, so we definitely got to be careful of him. And obviously Sutter's their great defender, but he's carrying an injury. The other players, they got Rothwell from, I think, was it Bournemouth? They got him. They've got, they're okay in the midfield. Um,
Raskin.
yeah, but up front they're gonna opt to go with their third string striker, Danilo. They've got injuries and fitness concerns about the other two strikers, as well as their wingers. Their wingers, that one of the positions was the one that is ruled out, I believe, and the other one was in doubt as well. So they're coming with not their greatest attacking threat. And what I saw in our preseason was we were very resilient in defense as well. So I think that's going to be a key strategy going to Ibrox Stadium. Being defensive, just shutting up shop. Don't really let them play the ball in their back
Yep.
line, whatever.
Yep.
Just we get them once, we get them on the counter. We do have players that can be devastating on the counter, whether it's going to be Pelistri or Tete that starts on that right wing. I've been edging towards that it will be Pelistri just for his more being able to defend that little bit better, especially in the away leg. I see that happening. Um, so that's going to be a key. I think Kyriakopoulos is going to be a good matchup with their on their right hand side. So that's going to be a really good matchup there. Obviously, I think the win, usually people would say it's going to be in the midfield, but I think the where the game's going to be won is the two edges. That's where I believe the game is going to be won. Who can obviously be more defensive, more resilient and be able to deliver that final deadly ball or even potentially the goal as well. That's where I believe the damage is going to come in that first leg, especially if we opt to play defensive. Um, Also, why there's another couple of reasons that I think this tie favors us. Obviously, they haven't travelled out of Scotland. They're going to travel to Greece in July in like a 30 plus degree. They're going to be playing in 30 degrees. Uh, they're not really acclimatized to that. I think the weather conditions are really going to hurt them. That I don't think that's been talked enough about. And there's also something completely weird that in between our two games, they're playing a friendly against Middlesbrough. Something for me does not make sense.
I raised that with him and with one of them, and he was happy with it to get games more minutes under the belt and more opportunity for Martin to get his ideas across. And I said, what if there's an injury? And he was saying that's the risk we've got to take.
But if you're going into a Champions League tie with you
I
not
agree. I
knowing
agree. I agree.
on, that's when there's big issues. Now's not the
He
time
was
for it,
saying he wants the 2 games a week to get used to that. I agree with you. I'd rather a full week preparation.
especially in the weather conditions that they're going to come to. I don't think it's been well planned, and I think their preseason has not been as neat and tidy as ours. I think the good thing that I've liked about our off season overall is the continuity. Like you see that there's a development, you see that there's a philosophy and a plan, and we've seen it work. We've seen that there's a schedule, everything is going as it should be. With them, I just think we've seen what we're looking at Rangers is what we've done of old, where we've come in light, we've come in kind of scrappy. Even like last season, our preseason results were horrible. Performances were horrible. So
But
that's
even
what I'm looking at Rangers like.
it's what you were saying as well. Their signings are the sort of signings we used to make in the past from the lesser leagues. For a huge club like Rangers to look in the markets they're looking in is really puzzling.
They brought in players from League One. They signed
League
players
One.
from League One. It kind
But
of
but that doesn't mean that they're bad players, though. To be fair,
It doesn't, but
to
imagine
be
if
fair
that
to
was
them,
us.
yeah. Oh, look, the fans would be an uproar, but at the same time, I look at if we had gotten Zapra from Liverpool, which I still hope we get him, I don't think anyone would be complaining.
but I don't think I think
Levadia
you're
plays in the
looking at
top level though in Greece.
Yeah, and that's a fair point, but I think League One's different to Super League Two. Is a
Yeah.
comparison part.
No,
Yeah,
it is. It is.
and then on the flip side,
but
if you look
if
at
Clara
if you look
was
at the point I'll make is that Bregu, who's a youth player, was playing the under 19s. Right now, I don't think I've come across a fan who wouldn't want him to feature more regular in the seniors. So I think it's more about and I don't know Rangers' success story in terms of finding hidden gems, but that could be really going hard in that hidden gem, rough diamond type of signing, which could well work wonders for them. That's the part I don't know. That's why I'm not judging them harshly in terms of that signing. But you're right, though. Rangers, big club, you automatically link them to higher profile signings. But maybe they're going down that nurturing talent and becoming a selling club type of thought process. Don't know.
yeah, it was Asgard, wasn't it? That they
Asgard, fellow Asgard, Norwegian.
yeah.
Who's
So
meant to have decent raps on him. From what I've read from the Rangers fans' assessments of him as a player, apparently they see a lot of potential in him. I don't know the player at all. I can only go off what their own reports are.
If that was us, I'm telling you, Sky would be burnt down.
Uh, these are his stats. His experience that they signed is at League One level and Championship level. In League One, 99, he's 23, so 99 games, 20 goals, 8 assists. Championship, 58 games, and he was at Championship last season. 5 goals, 2 assists. It's for me, and he's a number 10. For me, he'll probably get obviously in a better team with, weaker clubs around him, more as an alpha, those stats will obviously improve. But for me, you're signing League One players with that kind of stats. Like, I don't know. I'm a bit, if, roles were reversed and that was one of us that signed him, I'd be a bit, I don't know if he's really, if that's the direction that we should be going.
Our fans will be losing their minds.
Yeah.
And we've done it before. We've been down that path before.
We signed
It's what
French
you
League
said.
2 rejects
Remember,
and Spanish.
Sangaré, but the ice cream bloke, Pacoto, the Spanish. Oh, yeah, jeez.
It's, well, yeah.
Our history is a whole story in itself.
That's another podcast. You can do a whole episode on it.
You could do the historical classic signings, and you could be here all day talking about some of the signings we've had. But like again, on the surface, you sort of look at it and go, for a big club as theirs, doesn't make sense. But it may be that Russell Martin, having come from Championship
Yeah.
previously, has got a good eye for talent in those leagues, and maybe that's what's driving his strategy. Don't know. That's the part, and that's why I'm not gonna. And I'm not interested in judging Rangers too harshly anyway, because after these 2 games, they're not that relevant anymore. And with all respect to Rangers fans out there, but our club's the main concern I've got. So right now, I'm probably more thinking whether it's League One, Championship, or Nordjylland or Salzburg or whatever the club that they've come from. Have they had enough time to get to know the new system of play? Have they had enough time to get a proper preseason in? I think that's the biggest issue they've got.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, I think this is where my optimism obviously comes that, I'm leaning towards us to progress, not put us at like that 65-70% confidence in Panathinaikos progressing. I just think just due to those variables that I've said. So my optimism is fairly good, you know. And I think the likely lineup we're gonna line up at the moment is you'll say Dragowski in goals, Kyriakopoulos, the 2 centre backs, Ingerson on the left, Eric Palmer-Brown on the right, Vayanidis, Chirivella will get the nod. Number 8 spot is definitely going to be question marks. I think it would be Maximovic, but it wouldn't surprise me to be Sharon. I think Shorpis will be potentially the a sub coming in for that bit of energy, any closing down. But I believe Maximovic, just his physicality in these, Scottish teams, is going to get the nod. I'm looking at Pelistri getting the right wing role ahead of Tete, just purely being able to offer a little bit more defensively in that hustle in the away game. Home game, definitely would see Tete starting. Jurisic for sure on the left wing and Bakasetas and Forti. Obviously, Forti is going to be the player that we're definitely going to rely on the most. He is definitely the most important player where how he performs, it almost is like how the team performs. And I think that was evident versus Westerlo, where we played pretty poor in the first half. And he wasn't that good either. But that second half, he actually started lifted. Um, his decision making, passing, being able to be less selfish was better, and the team actually lifted with him as well. And we looked very comfortable when he started ball playing as opposed to holding up the ball. So Um, if we can see that 40 as well in this first leg, I think we've got some good things coming our way as well. Um, so that's how I see it.
Uh, I think that starting 11 you put forward seems like a fairly popular choice amongst fans. The one change I personally would say I'd like to see, and that is Siopi instead of Maksimovic. And it is probably more of a defensive midfield lineup in that sense. But out of all the players in our squad who have got the most understanding of the UK style of play, if I can call it that, it's Siopi, having come from there last season. So, and I think his style of play suits their style of play as well. So he won't be no stranger to that sort of yeah, scene and atmosphere, and more so the aggressive physical nature of their game. And I think that we need that to protect Chuvia in more playing the ball and creating, even though he's still a defensive mid. So that's probably the one thing I'll put out there as being a different discussion point.
Yeah. With that, the draw just came out earlier regarding if we win. Obviously, the point I want to bring up as well for Panathinaikos, the significance of us beating or progressing against Rangers. A lot is impacted that we need to make Europa League as a minimum requirement. This will help us with, most importantly, the cost control, the whatever jargon that they use these days with UEFA and FIFA regarding the money situation, the financials. So I think we are good if we make minimum Europa, as well as that big sponsorship with the remaining betting agency that's allegedly coming through. That will put us in the green. Um, and able to, well, I think we need to make up 20 million. Those two things easily make that up. So I think there's a lot at stake here for us in regards to that. But, I think that third round was pleasant news. If, the winner between Panathinaikos and Rangers, the draw just happened where either, the winner will verse either Servette or Victoria Pleasant from the Czech Republic. That was probably the more, along with Nice, would have been the dream ties to get in that third qualifying round. There is a fourth qualifying round as well, which gets extremely difficult. But it does make the journey a little bit easier, avoiding your, I think we avoided,
Fener, Benfica.
Salzburg, Benfica,
Okay.
so, which, are terrifying prospects. Let's not kid ourselves. It's terrifying prospects. So that was the good news in regards to that. But the flip side, the bad news is if we don't progress against Rangers, we will be versing in the Europa League, the qualifiers against Shakhtar, the winner of Shakhtar or Besiktas. That was probably the disaster out of the three possibilities of the pairings that we could have got. So there's a lot at stake for Panathinaikos, not just the financial stuff, but it also, especially if we fail to make the Europa League, very likely we are gonna blow up the squad essentially. Definitely 40, definitely Vayanidis gone. Vayanidis already has the links to England. I think quite a few of the scouts will be there watching him at Rangers, potentially from Everton and Wolverhampton. They seem to be the ones that are really chasing him the most. So can see those two exits definitely happening. So it's imperative that we try and keep this squad together as much as we can. Even if Vayanidis leaves, if we beat Rangers, at least we're not losing a lot of quality. Like we can fill that in. It'd be just more shattering that we'd have to do a fire sale to help with the cost control. So yeah, that is definitely going to be one to look at as well in regards to what happens with these ties and obviously the impact that it has further down, how it trickles down. And
I
that
just hope the players are made aware are aware of this already.
yeah, and that means definitely no Unahi.
Yeah.
And if we
The significance of this has to be drummed into them constantly.
and if we offer them like a packet of pumpkin seeds or something for his transfer, that's the only way it's going to get done. But yeah, it's definitely going to be yeah a lot more difficult.
But
It's season defining in July.
but they'll have their bonuses tied to progression, and the closer they get to Champs League group stage, the more attractive those bonuses will be, I'd imagine. So I think to make the Champs League playoffs, it's a few €1 million in prize money before you even make any group stage for that matter. So I think that if they can knock out Rangers and then have a respectable round against Victoria Pilsen or Servette and then make the playoffs, which would be far, far more difficult, then they've guaranteed Europa League and the money that comes to that. And they've got a few million just to make it to that round. So, and
If it
they'll
gets
get
to
a piece
that,
of that.
yeah.
So, as a professional player getting paid great money, they're going to get paid even more great money if they make it that far.
Yeah, and also from a club point of view, it does help with our coefficient as well.
If it
Um,
gets to that, I'm not complaining.
Or is it the Greek? It impacts one of them. I just keep
Uh,
forgetting which one in the
Greek,
qualifiers.
Greek until league phase. Then
yes,
we play
yes.
for our club league phase onwards.
Because I think we might get points for the next, just being in the next round, not winning the ties. I think
Yeah,
it
that's right.
helps because
I
we
think
got
we've made two and
points.
a half
I think,
thousand already.
yeah, we got whatever points we did for just being
Yep.
where we are now.
Certainly got 2,500. So we're on 16,000. I think we go to 18 and a half. What I'm not sure on is if we, the next, let's say hypothetically, we make it to a knockout round or playoff round and the points as seeds come into it. I'm not sure if it counts off the points as the end of last season or the points as at right now accumulated. That's the part I don't know.
Yeah, I'm unsure. I'm unsure of that, but yeah, there's definitely there's a lot at stake. There's a lot down the line impact that it has just this tie alone, financially, cost control, all those things. So the game is, and we should have probably mentioned this as well, the game is um, Tuesday night Greece time in Australia, 4:45 on Wednesday, 23rd. So it's, we're looking at just under 24 hours until kickoff. Oh, by the time people listen to this, it will be under 24 hours on the if they listen to it straight away. So um it will be yeah, pretty much it's gonna set the tone for the season. I think we will get a very more realistic view, apart from what we think of how that game is going to turn out. And obviously, our American friends will be able to give their thoughts on how we played, result, as well as previewing that second leg as well. So we look obviously forward to the game, and obviously, pretty much yeah, the season started. So even though waking up for the friendlies was good, sometimes we're friendly. Now we're back into the routine of just the early kickoffs, the season starting, the Greek league's about to start soon as well, so we're almost back in routine
Come around quickly as always. For now, let's just be thankful it's only one game a week.
for now. For
For
now.
now. For now.
But yeah,
I must admit, I did enjoy having a preseason friendly at 8 or 9 or 10 p.m.
it
on
was
a Saturday
10
night.
Yeah.
That it's for our part of the world at least. It was quite enjoyable actually not getting up in the middle of the night to watch a game. So
That was
unfortunately, we know that's not going to be moving forward.
Imagine the temperature, 4:45 a.m. in Melbourne on Wednesday.
Yeah, look, I'm not looking forward to, but I'll do it. of waking up at when it's 5 degrees outside, and yes,
But yeah, look, on a side note though, before we wrap it up, uh, for those who haven't seen it in the Panathinaikos team shop, that Panathinaikos Athens or from Athens styles are fucking amazing. I can't wait to go to Greece and just go to the shop and buy some of the from Athens range. They've done a stellar job, the team at Panathinaikos.
yeah,
That's
no,
with Adidas too,
No,
wasn't it?
they're not
No.
Adidas.
Okay.
They're
Okay.
they're the
Okay.
Panathinaikos branding
Brilliant.
from
Okay.
Athens. Yeah, they're very very good. So. Obviously, give us your feedback. Obviously, the jerseys, I won't get too much into it. I think they've caused enough controversy, especially that third jersey. You either love it or you hate it. Nick hates it. I love it. I
Yeah.
think Panathafan was 50-50.
Love the away.
yeah, the way was great. The way is probably the best one for me.
Yeah, I probably didn't like the home jersey. That was the my least favorite of the three.
Um, Full respect and call out to the marketing team. I think they've done a good job on the socials. And
Except for the font they used for the preseason in Austria.
But man, I
The
hope that's not for the season. You can't
Nah,
even make
I
sense
think it
of the
was
names or the scores.
I think it was more like an Austrian font
Okay.
to just tailor for that. But yeah, that was very unpopular amongst the fans.
so I think when Rui went into the preseason, he said that a lot of things had to improve at the club, not just players on the pitch. It looks like he's extended that advice to the marketing team, and it looks like they must have gone out and beefed up that team. So the work experience kid, it looks like he's being
Second
replaced
year,
by some
He got
experienced
promoted.
individuals.
second year now. He's a junior,
Uh, so now it's marketing, not
junior
marketing.
marketer, junior marketer. Uh, Gentlemen, like always, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for listening. We're back, season three, and obviously Metiniki versus Rangers. Thank you all.